So I just watched Together, the latest movie from Neon, and Neon has been killing it lately. If you've been even a little tuned into the indie film scene, you probably noticed. They are the ones behind stuff like Ingrid Goes West, which I saw years ago, and ever since then I've had an eye on whatever they put out. While big studios are out there fumbling $200 million blockbusters or making endless remakes that no one asked for, Neon's been quietly making weird little films that actually take risks, and surprisingly, a lot of them are paying off. Not just in cult followings, but also in serious award season clout. Together is especially interesting because it's the feature debut of Michael Shanks, who up until now was mostly known for some short films or a mini series or two. And honestly, for a first feature, this is pretty impressive. He swings for the fences, and while it doesn't always hit, you gotta respect the grind. Okay, so the real draw here, Alison Brie and Dave Franco. Yep, a real life couple starring in a movie together. That's already rare. But what's even rarer? When a film actually leans into that dynamic in a meaningful way. And Together absolutely does. The chemistry is obviously there, whether they are being playful, passive aggressive, or just full on screaming at each other. There's this underlying spark that makes everything feel a little more real. Kind of like A Quiet Place with Krasinski and Blunt, or that one episode of The Walking Dead with Jeffrey Dean Morgan and his real wife, Hilary Burton. There's something undeniably engaging about seeing real world affection translated, or in this case, tested on screen. The positives. Brie and Franco's performances are fire. They bounce off each other so naturally that even the scenes that could have dragged on a bit still stay interesting. You can tell that they trust each other as actors, and that goes a long way in a film that's so focused on the cracks and chaos in a relationship. The humor absolutely lands. What really caught me off guard was how funny this movie is. It's got a really sharp sense of humor that somehow works alongside the gross out body horror and emotional breakdowns. One minute you're watching something incredibly gory, but then you're also laughing at a perfectly timed one-liner or the ridiculous absurdity of the situation. It's that sweet spot between horror and comedy that's hard to nail, but this one mostly pulls it off. The body horror is gross in the best way. Props to the makeup and effects team. Seriously, it doesn't go full Cronenberg or anything like that, but when the horror kicks in, it's genuinely uncomfortable in a good way. I was actually reminded of The Substance at times. There's a similar vibe using gore and transformation as a metaphor, and it's really great to see fresh takes on the genre. Negatives. The script tries really hard to be smart, and sometimes it tries a little too hard. Some scenes feel overwritten, like the movie is trying to prove how deep and clever it is, instead of just letting characters breathe. There are subplots that feel half-baked and a bit too symbolic, more than having some actual significance in the story. Also, Dave Franco's character, oof, he's written to be unlikable, I get that, but it just doesn't quite work, and he ends up being more annoying than complex. Doesn't always let the audience in. For a movie that's supposed to be all about intimacy, vulnerability, and connection, it can feel weirdly cold at times. Like it's more interested in analyzing the relationship rather than, actually feeling it. The emotional distance really hurts the ending, which goes for a big shock moment rather than a satisfying conclusion to what is set up. It kind of left me feeling, that was it. There were times the movie was trying too hard to be a horror movie with cheap jump scares. And honestly, this movie should have just been a sex comedy with some body horror elements, would have made it much more accessible and palatable. In conclusion, as seen on the thumbnail, this movie gets a 7.5 out of 10 from me. The plot mostly succeeds in walking the tightrope between taking itself too seriously while also having a sense of humor. The performances are amazing, with the actors bouncing really well off each other thanks to their real life romance. Plus, the good makeup and effects make for some really icky body horror moments. Would I recommend it? Yeah, especially if you are into offbeat indie flicks. Just go in knowing it's a little messy, a little gross, a little all over the place, but also kind of great because of it. Thanks for watching.